You didn't land here by accident. This moment found you because something inside you finally clicked. Not hype, not luck, readiness, the kind that only comes after pressure, setbacks, and quiet battles nobody applauded. You've been patient longer than most people could handle. You've learned in silence, you've lost, adjusted, and kept moving. And now life is responding differently. Opportunities feel closer. Fear doesn't hit the same. Your vision feels clearer. That's not coincidence. That's alignment. Being ready doesn't mean everything is perfect. It means you're prepared to move even when it isn't. It means your mindset finally caught up with your potential. And today isn't about motivation for a moment. It's about recognition. You're seeing this because you're finally ready for what's next. There were moments you didn't talk about, not because they weren't heavy, but because you learned early that some weight is carried alone. Nights where your mind stayed louder than the world. Days when you showed up smiling while everything inside you felt unsure. Times when quitting would have made sense to everyone watching from the outside. When people would have nodded and said, yeah, I get it, that was too much. But you stayed. And that choice matters more than you realize. You didn't stay because it was easy. You stayed because something in you refused to fold. You stayed because walking away would have meant letting circumstances write your story for you. And deep down, even when confidence was low, you knew your story wasn't supposed to end there. That's not stubbornness. That's survival instinct mixed with vision. That's the kind of mentality you don't learn from books or speeches. That comes from being pushed to the edge and deciding not to jump. Pressure has a way of revealing who you really are, not the version you present when everything is smooth, but the version that shows up when the plan falls apart. Psychologists talk about post-traumatic growth, about how prolonged struggle can sharpen clarity, resilience, and purpose. But you didn't need a study to tell you that. You lived it. You felt it happening in real time, even when you didn't have words for it. Every setback forced you to ask better questions. Every loss stripped away illusions. Every delay taught you patience you didn't know you had. Look at the people who really built something lasting. Not the overnight stories people like to exaggerate, but the real ones. The entrepreneur who failed, lost money, disappointed family, started over with less than before, and still kept learning. The athlete who trained every day knowing they might never get the spotlight, sitting on the bench while others got praise, using that frustration as fuel instead of letting it turn into bitterness. They didn't wake up one day fearless. They were conditioned by repetition, by rejection, by showing up long after motivation ran out. That conditioning is what separates fantasy from readiness. You learn how to move without validation. You stopped waiting for someone to clap before taking the next step. At first it hurt, realizing that effort doesn't always come with applause, but over time, it freed you. You stopped tying your worth to reactions. You started trusting your own internal compass. When you've been ignored long enough, you either quit or you sharpen your self-belief. You chose the second option. There were stretches where the outcome wasn't guaranteed at all. No safety net, no clear sign that it would work out, just a decision to keep going anyway. That's where real confidence is built, not the loud kind that needs attention, but the quiet kind that knows it can adapt. You learned how to take losses without letting them define you. You learned how to adjust strategy instead of abandoning the mission. You learned that progress isn't always visible, but it's still happening. The way you carry changed you. Responsibility before recognition has a way of maturing a person fast. While others were chasing comfort, you were learning endurance. While others needed reassurance, you were learning self-trust. Those delays that once felt unfair were actually refining you. They forced you to get clear on what you wanted and why you wanted it. They exposed weak habits and pushed you to build stronger ones. They slowed you down just enough to make sure when things do move, you're ready to handle it. There's a difference between being broken and being tested. Broken things fall apart under pressure. Tested things prove their strength. You didn't come out of those seasons untouched. You came out wiser, more selective, more grounded. You understand people better now. You understand systems better. You understand yourself better. You know your limits. But more importantly, you know how far you can stretch before you break. That awareness is power. Think back to an earlier version of yourself before all of this. That person had potential, sure, but they hadn't been through the fire yet. They might have folded under the responsibility you can now carry. They might have panicked at the uncertainty you've learned to navigate. Growth doesn't always look like winning. Sometimes it looks like surviving long enough to evolve. And that evolution is evident in how you move now. Calmer, sharper, less reactive, more intentional. You don't need to romanticize the struggle to respect what it gave you. There were real costs, missed moments, stress, doubt, but there were also gains. They can't be taken from you. discipline, perspective, a deeper sense of purpose. You learn that not everything that hurts is harmful, and not everything that feels good is good for you. That understanding puts you ahead of most people. Now, when challenges show up, they don't scare you the same way. Not because you think you're invincible, but because you've seen worse and survived. You know that setbacks are information, not verdicts. You know that effort compounds even when results are delayed. You know that walking away is always an option, but it's rarely the one that leads to growth. The version of you standing here today isn't fragile, it's layered, built from experience, reinforced by pressure. You've been tested in ways that don't show on the surface, and that's exactly why you can be trusted with what's next. You didn't just endure the storm, you learned how to move in it. And that's a skill that stays with you for life. There's a difference between wanting something and being ready for it. Wanting is easy, it's emotional. It's the excitement you feel when you dream about success, when you imagine the applause, the recognition, the money, the influence. Wanting doesn't ask you to show up when it's inconvenient, when it's exhausting, when it's lonely. Wanting doesn't demand patience. Wanting doesn't demand sacrifice. It's flashy, it's quick, it's loud. And too often people mistake it for readiness. But wanting alone doesn't move mountains. It doesn't create legacies. It doesn't build people capable of sustaining success. Being ready is different. Being ready is discipline. Being ready is showing up even when you don't feel like it. It's doing the work while no one is looking, while no one cares, while the only applause you get is the silent satisfaction that you know you didn't quit. It's the small steps repeated daily that eventually compound into something real. It's what separates the dreamers from the doers. At some point, you stopped fantasizing and started preparing. You stopped letting your excitement be the measure of your action. You stopped hoping the world would hand you what you wanted and began earning it day by day, step by step. You started saying no to distractions, no to things that didn't move you forward, no to energy drains, no to people who didn't support the vision or weren't willing to grow with you. And you became more selective with your time, your energy, your circle, because you realize that who and what you allow in your space directly affects your momentum. Stanford research confirms what your instincts have been telling you. Long-term success isn't just about talent and luck. It's about consistency. It's about discipline. It's about delayed gratification. People who can push past comfort, who can stay steady when results don't appear overnight, are the ones who build legacies. That's what maturity looks like. That's what being ready looks like. You're no longer chasing everything. That version of you is gone. The one who spread yourself thin, chasing approval, chasing trends, chasing fast results, chasing validation. That version burned energy without focus. You learn to prioritize, to focus, to concentrate your effort where it matters. You understand that progress isn't loud every day. It's not the headline on social media or the applause from the crowd. Sometimes progress is waking up at 5 a.m. to do what needs to be done. Sometimes it's making sacrifices that nobody notices but yourself. Sometimes it's choosing work over comfort, discipline over desire, long-term gain over short-term pleasure. That's what commitment looks like. That's what readiness looks like. And commitment changes how life responds to you. And when you are serious, the world notices, doors open differently, opportunities line up differently. Not because life owes you anything, but because life responds to energy, and your energy has shifted. People sense when you're consistent, when you're disciplined, when you show up no matter what. That energy attracts other serious energy. People who are also building, also grinding, also ready to make moves. Opportunities don't just appear for those who hope or dream. Opportunities appear for those who build, those who prove they're ready to handle what comes next. You're not hoping anymore. That season is over. Hoping is passive. Hoping is wishing someone will notice you, wishing for luck to fall into your lap. That's a temporary feeling. You've moved into the active zone. You're building every day in real ways, tangible ways. You're constructing your future. You're putting in the work that will speak louder than words. You're learning that consistency outperforms talent when talent is inconsistent. You're learning that discipline beats excitement when excitement fades. You're learning that the only way to guarantee progress is to commit fully, unapologetically, without retreat. And that commitment isn't just about external results. It's internal. It's a shift in mindset. It's knowing that you can rely on yourself before you rely on anyone else. It's knowing that your worth isn't tied to outcomes, but to the effort, the integrity, the consistency you bring to the process. It's knowing that your vision doesn't need permission, and your growth doesn't need validation. Being ready, truly ready, is owning the work, owning the struggle, and owning the results, whatever they may be. Remember that moment when you realized that chasing the noise wasn't bringing you closer to your goals? When you stopped spending energy on what didn't matter and started spending energy on what counted? That's the turning point. That's the moment your mindset shifted from wanting to committing. That's the moment everything starts to respond differently. You're no longer fragile in your focus. You're not easily shaken by distractions. You're not swayed by temporary setbacks. You understand that patience is power, consistency is credibility, and discipline is freedom. And here's the beauty of commitment. It compounds. Every day you show up. Every day you honor your work. Every day you resist the easy path in favor of the meaningful one. You're building momentum. You're creating a foundation so strong that when opportunity arrives, you're ready to hold it, expand it, multiply it. You're creating leverage in your life that only comes from persistent, focused, intentional effort. You're building a future that reflects not what you wanted for a moment, but what you committed to over time. Commitment changes not just what life gives you, but who you are. It shapes your habits, your decisions, your relationships. It teaches you patience, endurance, and perspective. It teaches you to value process over applause, to respect the grind over glamour, to trust time over hype. It's a mindset that says, I will do what's necessary even when it's hard. I will honor the process even when it's invisible. I will stay disciplined even when nobody is watching. That mindset doesn't just prepare you for success, it transforms you into someone capable of sustaining it, someone ready to expand when the moment arrives. So when you look at yourself now, you see someone different. You see someone who no longer chases. You see someone who builds. You see someone who understands that wanting isn't enough. You see someone who knows the difference between hope and action, between fantasy and discipline, between dreaming and committing. That shift, that evolution in your mindset is what readiness looks like. That shift is what will carry you through challenges, setbacks, and opportunities alike. That shift is what makes you unstoppable because you are no longer defined by fleeting desire. You are defined by consistent, disciplined action. You are defined by commitment. And now, as life tests you, as doors open and close, as challenges appear, you will move differently. Not impulsively, not emotionally, but with intention, with preparation, with focus, with the mindset that knows the difference between wanting and committing and lives by the latter every single day. That's why you're ready. That's why the world will notice. That's why your actions, your energy, and your vision are finally aligned. You are no longer a seeker. You are a builder. You are no longer a dreamer. You are a doer. You are no longer hoping. You are committing. Every sacrifice you make now, every moment of discipline, every quiet, unseen action is stacking toward a future that matches your readiness. Every no you say to distractions is a yes to your purpose. Every early morning, every long night, every moment you put in when no one is watching is a declaration that you are done waiting for permission. You are done relying on luck. You are done guessing. You are committing. And that commitment, that readiness will move mountains in your life in ways that wanting never could. At some point it hit you. You realize nobody was coming to validate you. Nobody was going to hand you the green light, the stamp of approval, the moment where everything suddenly felt safe. There was no perfect timing. No sign in the sky saying it was your turn. No reassurance that someone else would say, yes, you're ready now. All you had was yourself and the decision to move forward anyway. That's when the real work began, not just the work of action, but the work of ownership. Ownership of your mistakes, ownership of your growth, ownership of your future. That's when you understood that life doesn't wait for permission, it waits for those bold enough to claim their own path. History is full of people who acted before they felt fully ready. People who moved when the odds weren't in their favor. People who built despite doubt. People who leaned into the unknown because they believed they could figure it out as they went. What separated them from everyone else wasn't luck. It was faith in their ability to learn along the way, faith in their capacity to adapt, and faith in their resilience to handle whatever came next. You stop waiting to be chosen, to be noticed, to be handed opportunity. You stop explaining your vision to people who couldn't see it, who weren't ready to understand it, or who were too comfortable in their own limitations to believe in yours. That was freedom. Because the moment you stop asking for permission, you step into a space where your decisions matter more than anyone else's approval. Progress doesn't need applause. Progress doesn't need recognition. Progress needs action. Every small step you take in alignment with your purpose compounds, even if the world isn't watching. And that shift is powerful. It changes how you move, how you think, how you respond to the noise around you. Once you stop asking for permission, you stop shrinking to fit someone else's expectation. You stop doubting every step, because now every step is yours. You stop waiting for validation and start trusting your instincts, your skills, your own voice. And confidence grows naturally from that. Confidence isn't loud or boastful. It's quiet, steady, unshakable. It's the kind that lets you walk into a room knowing your worth without needing anyone else to affirm it. Momentum starts building the moment you own your decisions. When you act without asking for approval, energy shifts around you. Doors start to open that were invisible before. People who once ignored your presence begin to notice because your energy commands attention. Opportunities align with you, not because you begged for them, but because your persistence and conviction created a force that couldn't be ignored. That's how leaders are made, not by waiting for a perfect time, not by waiting for someone to grant them entry, but by moving with intention, claiming space and making progress unavoidable. You learn to trust the process even when there was no audience. You learn that failure doesn't require permission either. It only requires courage to step forward again. Every misstep became a lesson. Every setback, a signal to adjust, not retreat. You began to see that the only permission you truly need is your own. And with that mindset, the world becomes less intimidating. The risks feel calculated, not paralyzing. The challenges feel like stepping stones, not walls. Think about the times you hesitated before, the moments you almost asked for someone's approval before making a move. Remember how heavy that doubt felt, how it slowed you down, how it drained energy from your purpose. Now compare it to the moments when you acted without waiting, when you trusted your instincts and your preparation, when you leaned into the discomfort of not knowing what others would think. Those are the moments where you grew the most. Those are the moments that proved you didn't need anyone else to authorize your journey. When you step into ownership of your life, something shifts inside you. You no longer measure progress by the applause of others. You measure it by your consistency, your courage, and your ability to persevere. You no longer worry about being understood or liked. You focus on being authentic, being deliberate, being relentless. And that's when doors you didn't even see begin to open. That's when people who resonate with your energy show up. That's when alignment happens, because you moved, not because you waited. Every great success story has that turning point. The moment when someone stopped asking for permission and started moving on their own authority. You've reached that turning point. It doesn't mean the journey is easier. It doesn't mean fear disappears. It doesn't mean challenges vanish. It means you've leveled up in a way that only those who act without waiting can. You've built resilience. You've built focus. You've built a mindset that no setback can dismantle, because it's anchored in ownership and self-belief. And ownership isn't just about big moves. It's about the small, consistent ones too. It's in showing up every day, even when recognition isn't immediate. It's in honoring the work when no one is watching. It's in being disciplined, accountable, and intentional in every choice. That's what readiness looks like. That's what momentum looks like. That's what it means to stop shrinking and start expanding. You've stepped into a different way of operating. You've left behind the habit of looking for external permission and stepped fully into internal authority. You've begun to trust your vision, your timing, and your ability to figure it out along the way. And that trust transforms everything. The people who doubted you, the circumstances that seemed impossible, the fears that whispered you weren't ready, they all begin to lose power over your path. Because once you stop asking for permission, everything changes. You move with clarity. You act with intention. You grind with purpose. You stop waiting for someone else's approval to start building the life you deserve. You stop shrinking to fit expectations that don't serve you. You stop letting fear of judgment dictate your choices. And with that freedom, momentum doesn't just appear, it multiplies. The power of this shift is unstoppable. The moment you fully embrace ownership, you realize that the world responds differently. People respect action more than excuses. Opportunities respond to energy more than words. Progress rewards consistency more than hope. And you become someone who no longer waits for life to give permission, because you've already given it to yourself. You've crossed that threshold. You've moved past needing validation, past waiting for timing, past wondering if anyone would say yes. You've chosen yourself. You've acted without asking for permission. You've committed to your own authority. And now everything that comes next, every door that opens, every challenge that tests you, every opportunity that arrives, finds you ready, finds you confident, and finds you unstoppable because you've stopped shrinking and started owning. Everything you went through taught you something. Every late night, every loss, every disappointment, every moment you felt like the weight of the world was too heavy. Those experiences weren't just obstacles, they were lessons. They taught you about people who will lift you up and who will hold you back. They taught you about systems, about how the world operates when nobody's watching, about how opportunities are structured and how some doors require persistence to open. And most importantly, they taught you about yourself, what you're capable of, how much you can endure, and the depth of your own resilience. Pain has a language, and if you've listened closely, it's been speaking truth to you all along. At first, it might have felt like suffering. It might have felt unfair. The nights of doubt, the moments of rejection, the periods of isolation, those can make you angry, frustrated, or even bitter. But the difference between those who stagnate and those who rise is the way they respond. Instead of allowing pain to define or limit you, you've begun to transform it into purpose. You've stopped resenting what happened and started using it. Every experience, no matter how dark, is now a tool, a lens, a guide. Every setback is a building block for insight, for clarity, for the work you are called to do. Real leaders aren't born in comfort. Real leaders are born from lived experience. They're forged in fire. People trust those who've been through trials because those trials bring wisdom that can't be taught in a classroom. People feel authenticity because it's rooted in survival, in struggle, in lessons that were earned, not given. Leadership psychology supports this. Studies show that authenticity and resilience increase influence far more than perfection ever could. People can spot polished facades from a mile away, but they can feel genuine strength and integrity even in silence. Your story, built from your pain, holds value. It's not just your story. It's a guidepost for others who may be walking similar paths, who need proof that hardship doesn't have to break you. That struggle can be transformed into something meaningful. You're no longer running from your past. That chapter that once haunted you, that experience you tried to forget, that pain you wished didn't exist. You're standing on it now. You've learned to turn it into fuel. Every disappointment, every failure, every heartbreak is now energy for growth. What once hurt you now sharpens your vision. Where you once saw only obstacles, you now see opportunity. The very moments that tested you have become your compass, guiding your choices, informing your decisions, and helping you prioritize what matters most. Pain no longer holds you hostage, it empowers you. Think about the clarity that comes from surviving the worst moments of your life. When you've been pushed to the edge, when you've been tested beyond what you thought you could handle, you develop insight. You start recognizing patterns. You understand what matters and what doesn't. You can see through distractions and noise because your vision has been sharpened by adversity. That's the kind of readiness that only comes from facing life's storms head on and choosing not to sink. That's the kind of clarity that separates those who coast through life from those who rise, who lead, who leave legacies. Your pain has given you empathy too. The experiences that once isolated you now allow you to connect deeply with others. You know what it's like to struggle. You know what it's like to feel unseen. You know what it's like to be doubted. And because you've walked that path, you can lift others as you rise. Mentoring, guiding, or simply being present for someone else. These are ways that your personal battles become collective gain. Your story becomes not just yours, but a beacon for those who are still finding their footing, those still in the storm you've already weathered. What's remarkable about purpose born from pain is that it doesn't fade. Material things, external validation, fleeting success, they can vanish. But the wisdom and resilience cultivated through adversity remain. They become a foundation you can rely on. They inform every decision, every action, every vision you pursue. That foundation is unshakable because it's been tested. The lessons embedded in struggle are permanent. They become part of who you are. And that permanence is what allows you to step into bigger roles, bigger responsibilities, and bigger impact with confidence. When your past no longer controls you, you are free to lead. When your pain no longer defines you, you are empowered to inspire. What once held you down now propels you forward. Every scar, every memory, every I can't you once felt has been transformed into fuel for a higher purpose. That's what readiness looks like, standing firm, rooted in experience, moving forward with intent, and using everything you've been through to guide your next move. Imagine a life where every obstacle becomes insight, every heartbreak becomes courage, and every mistake becomes a lesson. That's what you've built. That's the power of transforming pain into purpose. You no longer avoid difficulty. You recognize its value. You no longer fear challenges. You welcome them as opportunities to refine yourself and sharpen your direction. You no longer let past failures dictate your path. You let them illuminate it. This transformation is also about vision. When your pain becomes purpose, your vision gains depth. It becomes more than a personal goal. It becomes a mission. It becomes something bigger than comfort, bigger than recognition, bigger than fear. It becomes a way to impact others, to break cycles, to leave a mark that transcends the obstacles you once faced. Your story, your struggles, and the way you've turned them into purpose are what give your work weight and significance. And finally, this shift brings freedom. Freedom from fear, freedom from doubt, freedom from waiting for life to hand you opportunity or approval. Freedom comes from knowing that your experiences, your pain, your journey are not wasted. They are tools. They are fuel. They are the foundation for the life you are building right now. Nothing can take that away. Nothing can diminish what you've learned or who you've become. You are no longer defined by what hurt you. You are defined by how you used it, how you let it elevate you, and how you now stand ready, empowered, and unwavering because of it. What once was your burden is now your advantage. The pain that once limited you has become the purpose that propels you. Every challenge you endured, every moment you felt lost, every time you question yourself, all of it has combined to create someone stronger, wiser, and more focused than you were yesterday. That's readiness. That's power. But that's the moment where your past no longer controls you, but instead empowers you to step fully into your life, your vision, and the impact you were meant to make. Success looks good on the outside. It looks clean. It looks shiny. People see the celebration, the achievement, the recognition, the lifestyle. They see the highlight reels, the smiles, the applause, and they assume it's effortless, as if it's all reward and no work. But what they don't see, what most people miss, is the weight that comes with it. Responsibility is heavier. Responsibility is pressure. Responsibility is accountability. Responsibility doesn't come with the glamour. It comes with scrutiny, expectations, and the kind of work that never stops. That's why so many people chase success but aren't ready for what comes next. They get to the finish line and discover that it's not the finish line at all. It's just another level. And this one asks more of you. You're ready now, because you understand that impact comes with accountability. You've been through enough seasons of preparation to know that when people look to you, it's not about what you achieve for yourself. It's about how your actions influence others. Every choice, every decision, every step forward is observed. More eyes are on you now, whether you notice it or not. More expectations are placed on your shoulders. More pressure comes with every success. And unlike before, when pressure might have felt paralyzing, you're not afraid of it anymore. You built strength in seasons where nobody was watching. You've endured challenges, setbacks, and moments of doubt, and you've walked through them. That's why you can handle more now, not because it's easy, but because you've been forged by experience. The truth is, what you build isn't just for you. The work you put in, the discipline you cultivate, the progress you make, it sends a message to people who are watching quietly. People who don't say anything but notice. People who need proof that growth is possible. People who are waiting for an example to believe in themselves. They're paying attention to your choices, your consistency, your perseverance, and your integrity. They're learning from your journey, even when you're not aware of it. That's the kind of impact that lasts. That's why responsibility matters. It's not just about what you get. It's about what you give. It's about who you lift as you rise. Being ready for responsibility means being ready to lead by example. It's one thing to succeed when no one is watching. It's another to succeed when everyone is watching. Real leadership is quiet in some ways, deliberate in every action, and steady even when momentum hits. You're ready to stay disciplined when results come, not just in pursuit of them. You're ready to stay grounded when doors open, when recognition arrives, when people applaud, because you understand that success is a test as much as it is a reward. Momentum can make people careless, overconfident, or detached, but responsibility demands that you remain consistent, humble, and purposeful. You've learned that what you do in the quiet seasons matters even more when the spotlight finds you. Life doesn't hand responsibility to people who aren't prepared. It gives it to those who've shown they can handle weight without folding. It gives it to those who have proven that they can manage the pressure, the scrutiny, the expectations, and still stay true to their purpose. That's who you've become. That's why this moment feels different for you. You're not just ready to receive accolades. You're ready to carry the weight that comes with influence, the pressure that comes with leadership, and the expectations that come with impact. You've earned it through consistency, sacrifice, learning, and growth. Responsibility is also about foresight. It's about thinking beyond yourself, seeing beyond immediate gain, and planning for the long-term effect of your choices. When you accept responsibility, you understand that your actions have ripple effects. Your words, your decisions, and your influence extend into spaces and people that depend on your steadiness. You're aware that the life you lead now affects more than your own story. It touches communities, families, teams, and even strangers who look to you as proof that change is possible. That awareness doesn't limit you, it empowers you. It gives your purpose depth. It gives your success meaning. You've reached a point where you can manage that weight without letting it break you. Where others might feel burdened by pressure, you feel challenged and motivated. Where others might shrink under scrutiny, you feel affirmed and aligned. That's readiness. That's maturity. That's what makes you different from those who chase success blindly. You've seen the work it takes. You've lived through the preparation. You've endured the struggles. You've learned the lessons. And now you're stepping into a space that demands more from you, and you're ready to rise to the occasion. Responsibility also tests character. It tests integrity, patience, and commitment. It shows who you are when no one is watching, but also who you are when everyone is watching. It asks you to keep standards high, to stay disciplined under praise, and to maintain humility under success. And that's exactly why you're ready. You've been tested in ways that most people haven't. You've been through seasons of adversity that taught you to hold steady, to act with purpose, and to lead with vision. The trials you endured prepared you for this responsibility. They gave you the insight to know that success without accountability is empty. Carrying responsibility doesn't mean life gets easier. It means life gets more real. It means your influence increases and the stakes rise. Every decision has impact. Every move is observed. Every victory inspires others. And you've prepared for this by becoming someone who thrives under pressure. Someone who doesn't shy away from scrutiny. Someone who leads with action and example. That's why you're not just ready for success. You're ready for responsibility. And that's a far greater test. The people who watch you quietly, the ones who see your dedication and discipline, are waiting for you to step fully into this. They need your example. They need proof that hard work, integrity, and perseverance pay off. They need to see that responsibility is not a burden, but a path to greater influence and impact. You're not doing this just for yourself anymore. You're doing it for them too. And that understanding gives weight and meaning to every choice you make. So as you move forward, recognize that readiness isn't measured by accolades, by applause, or by wealth alone. It's measured by your ability to handle the weight that comes with influence, to remain grounded under pressure, to lead with integrity, and to keep lifting others as you rise. Success may open doors, but responsibility determines whether you can sustain, expand, and inspire. You're ready for this because you've earned it. You've proven your resilience. You've shown your discipline. You've accepted the work that comes before and after recognition. And now, with every step you take, you carry not just your own future, but the impact of everyone who watches and believes in what you represent. You've built yourself to this point, and the weight you carry now isn't a burden. It's a testament. It's proof that you've grown, that you prepared, and that you can handle more than most people even attempt. You're ready for responsibility, not just success, because you understand that the life you're creating is bigger than you, bigger than the moment, and bigger than fleeting recognition. The work, the discipline, the sacrifice, it all culminates here, and you step forward confident, capable, and unwavering, because the world has prepared you for this, and now you're ready to rise. So if you're seeing this, understand the signal. You didn't just survive, you evolved. You didn't just wait, you prepared. You didn't just dream, you committed. Next chapter doesn't require permission, it requires movement. Stay focused, stay consistent, stay rooted in who you've become. You're not early, you're not late, you're ready.